vi Hampus och Felix? Vad? Ja, oj. Har vi Hampus? Hej Hampus, välkommen. Bra, vi gör så. Du har en stol där borta med ditt namn. Okay guys, are we ready to get started? Yes, yay. Good. And we're gonna go live in how many seconds? We are live. Awesome. All right, welcome to this exclusive Terranet event where we will meet some of the sharpest brains in the industry. Today we will announce some very exciting news, reveal our latest progress, and we're just going to have a great day together. Are you guys excited? Yes, good. My name is Ronja Koepke. I am your host on this fine day. I've had the pleasure of deep diving into Terranet the past couple of days, and I must say that I'm both very impressed and excited for what's about to come. So let's get started, shall we? Yes? Good. Our first speaker of today is the CEO of Terranet. Pär-Olof Johannesson led the IPO on Nasdaq First North in 2017. He's a seasoned entrepreneur and a very successful tech executive for the past 20 plus years. Pär-Olof's previous positions include operating venture partner at Mangold Investments, BA director at Flextronics, area manager at ABB, project manager at Ericsson, and attaché with Swedish Ministry for Foreign Affairs. This is a busy guy, right? But still, there's more. He's been an instructor at Stanford, MIT, and Lund School of Economics and Management, and he's an avid skier and tennis player, but most proud of his two amazing kids. So, a big applause for Pär-Olof.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Terranet's Capital Markets Day, Terranet's Investor Day. And it's great to see so many Terranets, Terranauts, terrific Terranet friends. Thank you for coming. Special thanks to certain prominent guests, speakers, partners, advisors. Let's start with Untitled Chapter, who is our lead investor, represented by Göran. Göran is our chairman, Anders Blom, and Julian Alexov. Also, all of you who come here, our speakers from Glevén and Hampus Engellau, from Mangold and Handelsbanken Capital Markets. We have Nils Wollny, who is the founder and CEO of Holoride. We have Felix Andlauer, who is CTO of NEVS. We have our inventor, Dirk Smith, founder of the groundbreaking, revolutionary, game-changing, disruptive, many words, voxel flow. We have Nihat, our new CTO from Daimler. He was the head of navigation at Daimler before he, a couple of months ago, took position with Terranet. And who else? A number of people here. We have, last but not the least, the one who actually has masterminded this event, my dear colleague, Michaela. And Rebecca, who has also done quite a job here, has something for you. But again, maybe I should have this one. So, who are we? Or more importantly, what do we do? Or even more important though, why do we do what we do? So, yeah, we are in the business of saving lives. That is our vision. That is why we're here. That is why we do what we do. That is our true vision, saving lives. And we have a mission to realize that vision. And that is to design and develop a special sensor software for collision warning and object identification. So, that is why we do what we do. Who are we then? It's quite an astonishing tribe of Terranets, terrific people. It's an A-team who are located in Lund, somewhere in Sweden, southern Sweden, Stuttgart, in Baden-Württemberg, Los Gatos in Silicon Valley, and also, frankly speaking, a little bit in München, in Bayern, because we have quite a stake in another great company who are going to hear more about later today, Holoride. So, in the next sequence next to me here, you will hear about quite amazing things. And the whole idea with this event is to give you an idea, give you information about our narrative, our story. Not only why we do things, of course, but what we do, and where we make a difference. We think we make a dent in heaven about what we do and why we do stuff. You're going to hear about a very big thing that we are announcing later today. One of my great colleagues that I didn't see here, that I didn't talk about, is Senja. She's going to talk about that later on. And you're going to hear about how we have designed something around artificial intelligence and also the metaverse of things. The metaverse of things, of 3D motional or even 4D motional perception for object detection, and also augmented reality combined with autonomous driving. Sounds something, right? Again, I see Rebecca here, and I may have missed someone here. I mentioned Senja. I see some other folks here as well from Mangold. But again, Michaela is the one who masterminded the event. We wouldn't be here without Michaela. So having said all this, a great applause, and I'm very excited because we are here to excite you. And I'm sure you will be excited after this day. Again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pär-Olof. Next up is Jan Glevén, who started Mangold commissioned Research Mangold Insights in January 2019. The research service has grown rapidly and now consists of 4 analysts who covers about 60 companies. Glevén has more than 20 years of experience as financial analyst from Redeye, Remium, and Avanza. He has also worked as a financial journalist at Dagens Industri, the business magazine Affärsvärlden, and news agency Direct. Welcome up on stage, Jan Glevén.
Okay, thank you. Nice to be here. I'm a speaker here at Terranet, and I work at Mangold as a analyst, and we consist of a team, research. So we can put my presentation on. I can. Can you hear me? This is what Mangold is about. We're a listed company on First North. We're growing fast. We have had a busy year with a lot of IPOs. We consist of private banking and investment banking, and I work at the investment banking. We have at investment banking, we have corporate finance, we have corporate research, commission research, and we have certified advisor and this is what we have been doing for a couple of years. It's a lot of IPOs. So we've been quite busy. This is the IPO companies that we have been doing this year. You can see that some companies works and some companies don't work. It's fintech do work, but game developer gambling hasn't worked. So it's different there. Okay, so Mangold Insight, that's where I work. We have around 60 companies. We have been growing fast. We started this for 3 years now, and we have been analyzing Terranet for 2.5 years. Yes. Okay, so Terranet is an interesting company that we also have in our portfolio, microgrid topics. We created this for quite a year ago. It has at least 5 companies. You can invest in this for a fee of 1.5%. The customers will get a discount if they are interested in this. This is high-risk companies, but the risk and reward is something that we will see come in a couple of years. As you see, the yellow line hasn't been great, but you have to be long-term in this kind of investment. So we have small companies. Usually they are being involved in rights issues, which pushing pressure on the stock price. We've seen this in Terranet as well. So the companies you can see at the bottom of this page, Terranet is there. So if you're interested in this, you can contact us. So the LiDAR market then. Terranet's, they have these companies that they will be compared to. They are very big companies. As you can see, the market cap is huge. They have some partnership and customers that Terranet also will be involved if everything goes as planned. I will show you then how this worked out. It hasn't worked out so well. I mean, the LiDAR companies was popular a couple of years ago, but investors are not that excited. So why? It's because not much has happened and we need something new, right? So we have those companies that been newly listed. It's like NEVS, for example, and Oster. They are newly listed on Nasdaq, but they haven't been that popular, as you can see. So Terranet has been doing better. So that's great to see, and you also can see on Semi, it's a semiconductor company that's involved in this business, has worked out much better. Okay, so Terranet is about safety, and there are some things that you need to be aware of. So these are the things that will drive the market. It's the regulations. And we have this EU regulation GSR that are important for this sector to work. The there's some new safety measures that will speed up the demand for better safety in cars. So you can see a lot of things that will happen now. So this will come into in 22. All these things will happen for the car makers. They have to have this in their cars. So that's positive for Terranet. Okay, so we have been analyzing Terranet for some while. At first, it was some kind of telecom company, and no one really knew what the company was about. So our focus was to put it on the right sector. So we focused on Terranet and the ADAS market. So what we did was that we positioned it to take some market share from radar and lidar market. And then we chose some percent of the level 2 for automotive drivers. And the upside is huge. But we're waiting for things to happen. And when that will happen, this will probably materialize. So what are we waiting for? The triggers that we are waiting for are that voxel flow will turn into a product. We will see a product in vehicle. So it's a prototype now, but things will probably happen within 1 or 2 years, we hope. Also, we will see strengthening of the team. That also happened. We have Nihat here today, and he will take this company forward. That's what we hope for. Collaborations is also important. We will see that. We will have already seen it coming, but we will see more of this, and that will increase the value of the share, we think. So, as you saw, the leader companies are not doing great, and there will be a change in this market, so it's still room for improvement in this sector. What we like with Terranet is that the product is cheaper and it's easier to integrate into vehicles. So what we're looking for is voxel flow to be implemented as a standard in cars. So it will be a mix or a complement to radar or lidar. So the conclusion is here that we will likely see collaboration in some kind or a bid. The value will increase. So Terranet, they're now in Lund and then also in Stuttgart, which is something that we like because in Stuttgart we will see it's easier for Terranet to meet and to collaborate with other companies. So that was basically what I had. So I hope.
Thank you so much, Jan. I'll take that. And then you have the mic. Give the guys the mic. Thank you. All right. Hampus Engellau is one of the leading industrial and automotive analysts in the Nordic region with more than 20 years of experience. He has previously worked for SG Hambros in London and Kaupthing Bank, but as of 2006, he is leading the industrial and automotive team at Handelsbanken Capital Markets. We do not have a panel yet. Hampus, the stage is yours. There you go. Here's a clicker. Bara klickar vidare till nästa. Så. Vi har inte panelen. Det är din presentation väl? There we go then. Sorry. Okay, so Jan then. Sorry, that was my bad. Do you have a mic? Here. Yep. Okay, good.
Okay.
Now you're mic'd and everything.
Right.
That's awesome. Now I can hear you, Hampus.
Good to hear.
That's great. Okay, comfortable? Yes? Perfect. All right, so since I'm new to Terranet, I am just learning what all this excitement is about. So can you please tell me, why should I be excited about Terranet? Hampus?
I think what we're seeing in the landscape of active safety is that it was kind of a booming market in 2016-17. And then I think the focus shifted to a lot of CO2, electric vehicles, etc. But if we're looking for in the future, and I think what's coming is that as cars become more clean, focus is going to shift back to safety. And what we're picking up is that if you look at the World Health Organization, what's happening in United Nations and all of that, they are really concerned about traffic safety. And if you take like 1.4 million are killed in traffic every year, 50% are two-wheelers and pedestrians. And cars today are very safe. But the problem is what's happening outside the cars. And I think that from a sustainability perspective, etc., the car industry is more going to get the task to save people. And by that, you're going to be seeing protection outside the car in terms of airbags outside the car. But more importantly, you're going to see active safety penetration rates going really through the roof. And this is going to be frontal-looking cameras. And you can take a typical vehicle today, and tomorrow we'll maybe have 20 cameras, radar, LiDAR, and all of that. And Terranet is part of that development, and that's why it's interesting.
So the safety outside of the car, is that an airbag for the guy on a bike, or is the airbag for the guy in the car?
You will see both, I think. Typically, when the pedestrian is being killed by a car, it's not by the velocity or the speed. It's when you hit a pedestrian, the head goes into in the bonnet of the car, and that is typically when he hits the engine block. That's when you're getting killed. So by using an airbag on top of the bonnet, that will definitely help. But we don't want to get to that situation. We want the car to brake before that.
So when is this on a timeline? When does this happen?
I think we're seeing part of these products already. If you take like the active safety market today, it's an $8 billion market. It's expected to be 25 billion in 2026.
So that's a good investment.
in the market development, yeah. And if you take like vision systems, object identification software and hardware, that market was around 3.7 billion last year and around this year. But that's, I think, we're going to see the highest growth. I'm estimating that market to be close to $10 billion by 2026. And that's the combination of camera, frontal looking, and also software.
Wow. So Jan, why should I be excited about this company? Because you guys have a different perspective. Company and tech, I would say, right? Do we have the hand mic on? Try again.
The technique is disrupted, and it saves life. So in that perspective, I'm excited. But I mean, this market is growing rapidly, and then it's all things happening so fast that I think Terranet have a good chance to be in this market and do something that other companies don't do. So in that perspective, I like this company. And so we will see what will happen now that with a base in Stuttgart, I think things will start to happen.
All right. Hampus, what are the challenges you see for Terranet?
I think the challenge is attacking a rather conservative industry. For instance, if you look at the market today, where there are basically two different technologies competing, where you have the monovision systems, which is a single camera frontal looking with the software, initially developed by Mobileye. They account for 60% of the market. And then we have competitive products from Veoneer, Bosch, and Conti, which typically use stereo vision, which is a better technology, but still they only have like 2% of the market. So convincing the industry about having a very killer application product will be a challenge.
So then how do we do that?
I think by testing and basically bringing in the automotive sector to see the benefits of the product. And eventually, when the focus shifts, I think car industry is going to see it's a competitive advantage by being really safe. And there could probably be some drivers behind that, yeah.
But why do you think that this industry is still so conservative?
It has always been there. That if you look at the car today, I mean the electric architecture of a conventional car with 50, 60 ECUs. If you take like a Tesla, they use like one ECU, and I think that they have to adopt, because otherwise these guys that are coming from the tech side entering the market with electric vehicles, and they're going to have all the functionality, being electric drivetrains, etc. So I think they have to adopt, but still they're struggling a bit.
Right. So Jan, Terranet is still a pretty small company. Can you tell us about the competition on the market?
Yes, the competition is strong,
And the
but it's strong in leader, I would say. And you have those radar companies, as Hampus mentioned. You have Conti Continental, and you have Bosch. They are really strong in this sector. But Terranet is doing something else. It's a better technique, and I think these companies they have to have this to be best. So there's the competition is there, but if you have something that is better, you will win in the end. So I think this will work out well if they get the product in vehicle. And then we will see things start happening for the company.
Hampus, do you agree? Is the technique better than everything else out there?
From what we're seeing, I think it's very promising, and I guess that the response time will be everything here, and that looks really interesting for Terranet.
Okay. So how big is the market for object identification software, Hampus?
As I said, if you break it out, you can say, as I said earlier, 3.7 billion, and I would say if you take the software part, it's probably $1.5 billion this year, and I would say that market is going to be 6.5 in 2026, because you will be adding high penetration rates.
That sounds super impressive to me. You look like, oh, it's okay, but I think that sounds amazing.
Typically, when you look at this sector, you kind of get used to high growth numbers, I guess.
This is true. So how does the technique really distinguish itself from other techniques in the market?
I mean, I'm not going to talk about their technology, but I'm sure they will. But I think that the combination of laser and event cameras and the response time is very interesting, because when you scale that up in terms of speed, I mean, a couple of meters could be really game changer for the industry. So that's why it's interesting.
You mean with a couple of meters of when you hit the brakes?
Yeah, exactly. For stopping the vehicle.
So saving lives.
Yeah, saving lives. Yeah, that's
back to the tagline. So Jan, where do you think Terranet will be in 5 years?
Oh, that's a big question today, isn't it? I think we will see things start happening when they get this product in vehicle, and they will have some collaboration, and probably they will end up with some tier 1 or OEM company, I would think. So this is such a new and disruptive technique that they can't stay out of it. So I think it will be with some kind of collaboration. Yes.
Okay, or where do you think, Hampus?
I think the interesting thing I think is happening with Daimler, because it seems like Daimler have very high ambitions in active safety, and then it's part of their positioning of their brand. So working with Daimler, I think it's one step definitely towards the right direction.
We're talking a lot about safety today, but has electrification, I just heard that this is a pun in my head, taken a backseat in how prioritized it is?
Not, I think still electrification is the main focus for the industry, but active safety is kind of going along. You won't introduce electric vehicles unless you have the latest technology on active safety. The car industry is generally struggling with how their revenue models are going to look into the future, because if for instance, if the car is going to be on autonomous driving and it's going to be an electric car, you're removing a lot of the value added that the car industry is creating. So they have to look at different type of services, etc. And that's why they have to run multiple companies. They have to run startups in in robotaxi business. They have to look at car sharing, subscription services, and all of that. And even if you meet top executives in the car industry, they don't know how they are going to sell and how their revenues are going to look in 10, 15 years.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and joining the panel. Our next speaker is Nils Wollny, who brings extensive experience in strategy, digital business, and innovation to his current role as CEO of Holoride, a spin-out from Audi focusing on the next generation of in-car entertainment. Nils' passion for mobility and media led him to co-found Holoride in 2018. Since then, Holoride has been named the Best of CES 2019 and acknowledged by Time magazine as one of the 100 best inventions of 2019. Additionally, Nils was recently named a Rising Star for 2020 by Automotive News Europe. In 2018, German Automotive Woche acknowledged him as a 40 under 40 high potential managers. Prior to co-founding Holoride, Nils led one of Europe's leading digital agencies as managing director before joining Audi as head of digital business. In this role, he was responsible for digital services and platforms. Welcome up on stage, Nils.
Thanks. Thank you so much for the very long introduction. Unfortunately, I turned 40 this year, so 40 under 40 doesn't count anymore. So good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Terranet, for the very kind invitation. We have a partnership since spring this year, but actually it reaches back into our founding year. So in 2019, I met PO for the first time. And we continued our conversation since then, and it gets more and more intense. And you might be surprised today because it's all about saving life, and it's all about Terranet's technology today. So why the hell am I here today? Literally to entertain you. But I also try to expand a little bit the focus of Terranet's technology and the potential and why we are collaborating strategically. But before I jump in, who does know Holoride yet? Oh, wow. Okay, so I'll start from the beginning then. So hope that works. Fantastic. So as you might know, cars have been an essential part of entertainment for several decades already, but somehow entertainment never really made it into cars. I'm talking about visual entertainment here, not sound. This obviously works. So when we started Holoride, we started with a clear purpose in mind, so making transit time count, because for many passengers, transit time feels like wasted time. And also when consuming visual content in cars, a lot of people do get motion sick. Who of you gets motion sick in the audience? Every time. So this compares to the general statistics. Approximately 1/3 of all people get severe motion sickness when consuming visual content in cars. And this is for a very simple reason. Your eyes are fixed on a screen and your body is feeling the motion of the vehicle, turns, acceleration, braking, and this doesn't match what your eyes are seeing. So your brain is expecting that this should be in sync. If it's not, it might cause motion sickness. And this is really limiting. If you think about what we're talking today, we're talking about autonomous cars, so everyone will become a passenger. How do you spend your time in a car, even today as a passenger? If you can't consume visual content, the time feels wasted for many passengers. So that's where we started, and we said, okay, we want to make transit time count again. And my two co-founders and I, we were working at Audi back then. So we started the project back in 2015, and we had, in our focus, we were just thinking about autonomous cars back then. Said everyone will become a passenger. What are people doing? How can car manufacturers stay part of the value chain? But then we did the math and we were looking into research and discovered, hey, wait a second, the passenger economy, it's already here today. Before the pandemic, I don't have the statistics now, but before the pandemic, the 4 biggest ride-hailing companies, Uber, Lyft, Didi, and Grab, performed 50 million rides per day. Just the 4 biggest ride-hailing companies, not all the cabs, taxis out there, just them. And if you look into the private passenger car segment, there are more than 1.4 billion rides every day with passengers on board. And the average ride time is like 21 minutes per ride. So there is a lot of time spent in cars, and somehow it's lost. So that's where we started, say, we want to make transit time count. We don't wait until you have autonomous cars. We start right now. Obviously, it's also a longer vision. Our product will hit the market in the second half of next year. So you'll see Holoride ready vehicles then. But what's Holoride? What are we building? I brought a little video so that gives you an impression on what our solution is all about.
there already?
So I think this video shows very well how our solution works and what the passenger experience will look like. Usually I try to get people into cars. This is not possible today because the video does a good job, but you have to experience it yourself to really feel how the synchronization between the content and the car motion plays out. It's a completely radical new experience for passengers in cars. Now it's getting a little tacky, but I'll not stress it too long, but it's important to understand also in the context of Terranet. So at the heart of everything we do is the passenger. And we have come up with a tech stack that, so on the left corner you see the vehicle localization we have built. This is basically built on top of an autonomous driving software. What our technology does, we take real-time car data from the car, like acceleration, braking, steering angle, wheel ticks, GPS position, navigation route, and translate this in almost real time with the content that is being displayed on a personal device. So that it's perfectly in sync with almost no latency between the motion of the vehicle and what's being displayed to the passenger. The second most important aspect you see on the top, our application runs on personal devices because we strongly believe people take their personal device, whether it's their tablet, their phone, their wearable in the future, take it to cars, and in the future they might even switch cars more often because maybe they don't own it anymore, they just share it. So they bring their personal device and it connects to the vehicle, reads the data, and does all the compute on the personal device. So it's a super efficient software that runs on the personal device of the passenger. We are literally extending their infotainment system of the car manufacturer to the personal device. Then on the right hand, you see our Elastic SDK. This is the tool set we have created for content creators. It's a plugin for the Unity game engine. If you're a content creator, game engineer, you're familiar with this platform already. You just plug in our toolset and you're ready to build stuff for cars. And the way we publish it and distribute it is via our platform. So our technology stack basically connects car manufacturers and content creators with passengers. And in spring this year, shortly after we announced our Series A funding round, we also announced that we incorporate blockchain technology to our platform for increasing the transparency. So we are probably one of the first content platforms that are transparent by design. So content creators know exactly what royalties they're entitled to if they publish on our platform. And also crypto blockchain tokens, you might be very familiar, especially in this community, with this new type of asset, also helps to create a vibrant in-experience economy. So passengers can purchase items, resell them, and non-fungible tokens might be a term you're familiar with. So very uniquely identifiable digital objects can be traded within our platform. And each time it's being traded, we take a small share as the platform, but also the creator is getting royalties every time the item he has created is being shared on the platform. So, and last week we announced that we have our own crypto token called Ride. We called it Ride for a purpose because we have a broader idea for it. It will get listed during this week at Elrond's Maya exchange, and we'll list it on other exchanges very soon. But what's the benefit for car manufacturers working with us? First of all, they get content into their cars, basically their ecosystem for their passengers. That's we curate this content. It's an additional revenue stream because the revenue we make as a platform, we share not just with the content creators, but also with the car manufacturer for providing us these data points. It's a very easy integration for car manufacturers because they don't have to share to change anything in their architecture. We take the data as is. The only thing they have to implement is that our application is allowed to read this data wirelessly via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi in the interior of the car. So there are a lot of customization opportunities because car manufacturers are proud regarding their brands, their brand world they have created. So we also incorporated this. They can customize a lot of things, and data security and transparency, as I said before, is one of the paradigms we have in our design philosophy from the beginning. So literally, with our technology, there's suddenly no limit to where a car can take you. So we are at the heart of the metaverse movement. So who has heard the term metaverse? Okay, so I think Facebook did a great job with renaming into Meta and pushing forward. So metaverse, for the audience, just as a quick explanation, I like to take things simple. There are a lot of definitions out there, but metaverse is the more consumer-friendly term for spatial computing. What does that mean? Basically, computing, the internet moves into the space, and you have this fusion of the physical reality with a digital reality, creating a new reality. This is how I define the metaverse, because it's there are so many definitions out there. But the beauty is we are witnessing a supernova, how these physical reality and digital reality collide and create something new. It's not just about virtual reality or augmented reality. It's about the very smart combination of a physical experience with a digital experience, creating a completely new one. And we are fully at the heart of this movement because, as you have seen in the video, virtual content, digital content is merged with a physical experience of your ride. So this is the game we play. And now we move towards Terranet. You might have seen this news. P.O. and his team did a very smart investment in spring because what they're building with voxel flow gives us more data in the future, more precise data at a very high speed, interpreting the surrounding. So it's not just making roads safer, the same data points as is can be used for a better passenger experience in the future, so for more comfort. This is an additional use case that comes with the technology as a byproduct, if you want. But it's super valuable for us to have these additional data points. If you move into augmented reality, things have to be super precise, super fast, with almost no latency, and this is where the voxel flow technology helps us in the future. So together, we have a very strategic approach. That was a strategic investment by Terranet. And for us, in our Series A, if you look at the cap table, we just brought strategics on board. Audi obviously is a shareholder. We have a gaming company from the US that is a shareholder. We have Terranet as a lead investor. And we have a consortium also of a few individuals from China that hopefully will help us entering the Chinese market. But we together look a lot on the technology possibilities that voxel flow brings us. So at the moment, we're investigating a lot of the opportunities, but also we are attacking the same market, if you want. We are working in the automotive space. I mean, we as a company also in the content space, but together we have almost the similar customers, and this is where we combine also forces in terms of business development. And then you might have read the news, I think it was 3 weeks ago approximately, that we kicked off a project together with NEVS, elaborating even more on how does the voxel flow technology in autonomous shuttles will help us to create new fascinating experiences for passengers, because in those pods everyone is a passenger and they have a lot of time to spend, and we want to help them to make most out of this time to make their transit time count. Thank you very much.
No, don't go anywhere. Come. Hang out with me. Thank you. This was super interesting. So I get car sick seriously every time unless I drive. Will this work for me?
Hopefully it does. I can't promise that everyone who usually suffers from car sickness, car and motion sickness, that our technology will solve this problem. But we have done a lot of research that we have like a 10-fold improvement for many people. So very often people that usually do get car sick don't get car sick anymore. And also you have it in VR. A lot of people get VR sick if you play like dynamic games, but you're tied to your desk chair. And your body is expecting some motion, they get VR sick. And we combine this, and our research shows a significant improvement for many people. So we hopefully really open visual content up for more people in cars.
So is this mostly for kids, or is it also for adults?
Yeah, very good question. So we start with teenagers on back seats. So if we hit the market next year, it's all about teenagers on back seats, and we fully focus on the entertainment use case. But we have education as one major use case or content area in focus, as well as relaxation and well-being, which is a big theme in Asia, and also productivity. So we see this expanding over time. Once wearables get more and more popular, then we'll also expand the use cases. But teenagers are our initial focus next year. Okay,
and teenagers knows how to ask for expensive stuff.
Oh yeah, they do. But interesting side effect from our research: parents are willing to pay more than even gamers, because I don't know who is a parent. You probably know why, right?
Ah, so we get quiet in the back seat. I get it. No whining.
No, it's a solution we tested a lot with users from the beginning. So even with our very early prototypes in 2015, we did a lot of user research, and I think it's very beneficial for a lot of passengers.
Fantastic. So what makes Terranet and Holoride such a magic combination?
Yeah, I think together we purely stress this metaverse idea, because if you move into this direction, you need a lot of input to create this fascinating output. And where I see a lot of possibilities is that the voxel flow technology is really sensing the environment in an unseen speed and accuracy, which helps us.
And then I'm going to ask you, the technology, what is it exactly?
What we are building?
No, the voxology. that you said?
The voxel flow.
Voxel flow.
Oh, voxel flow.
Thank
I think
you.
there will be way more input from.
Yes, but if you
the
just,
inventor.
since you mentioned it, just a
Yeah.
quick line so everyone understands.
No, it basically senses the environment at light speed, so to say, and we can use this input for content creators to build things and also to increase or improve the passenger experience.
So light speed, that's way faster than you and I.
Yeah, or a blink of an eye, I think, is the marketing sentence that Michaela came up with.
That is really quick. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Right. All right, it is time for our next speaker. Felix Andlauer studied mechanical engineering at TU Munich and Chalmers in Gothenburg. From 2007, he worked with renewable energy and a variety of positions combining technical, business development, and leadership tasks. In 2018, he joined NEVS as project manager for the newly started mobility ecosystem development project PONS. Since May 2021, he has been VP Mobility Solutions at NEVS. Felix, the stage is yours.
Great pleasure to talk after Nils. So my presentation is a lot less typical. I will speak about NEVS, and I guess many of you have heard about us. Our vision is to shape mobility for a sustainable future. And I normally talk so loud that I don't know it myself, but yes. Another interesting fact is that you're actually now seeing the second 40-year-old German on screen on the scene in a row. So we'll have to figure out who's younger or older. Now I'm not hearing myself anymore and again, but yeah, you're close enough, I guess. So very quickly about NEVS. I think, as most of you probably know, we were created from the bankruptcy estate of Saab Automobile. We are now today, we've started in 2012, and we were bought by Evergrande, that unfortunately most of you heard about a lot recently, in 2019. And really as a part of their EV strategy. They wanted to become the world's biggest EV manufacturer. And one of their central acquisitions for that was NEVS, because we had a factory in China. And we had a lot of the OEM capabilities that we inherited from Saab. And but since Evergrande isn't doing too good at the moment, they more or less gave us the freedom to decide ourselves and to decide our fate ourselves. And so we decided, we have been working on this project PONS for quite a while, which is a mobility service based on autonomous vehicles. And since we weren't limited by Evergrande anymore, we decided to fully focus on this PONS development, where we try to develop a mobility service that really is an alternative to the privately owned car. Today we are about 350 people, mostly engineers in both vehicle design and service design. But we have, of course, all the production facilities in Trollhättan and left, and all the labs. And the long-term goal is to create the service and then to start manufacturing fully autonomous vehicles. I think most of you probably somehow agree on that autonomous vehicles are coming and that they are somehow will revolutionize the future of mobility. But I've tried to put together all the aspects of how today's mobility system that is focused around the individual driver and his privately owned car is creating a lot of problems, and why we think that autonomous vehicles will solve it. So in general, air pollution has been a problem for a long time, but everyone more or less sees that the cars are getting cleaner all the time, and with the rise of electric vehicles, it's really it seems like even if the pollution aspect in cities isn't fully solved yet, we are on the right track to solve it. When it comes to congestion, it's a lot harder. Everyone, or sometimes many people claim that autonomous vehicles will somehow solve the whole congestion problem. And we think that they have the ability, but we need to also think about the whole business model of not just selling vehicles to private people. Because if you would look at the picture of to the left, if you would turn all those vehicles into autonomous vehicles that with one person in them, the picture would still look the same. The other problems is overconsumption. So everyone owning one vehicle for him or herself is kind of a problem in itself. And yeah, although we already have public transport, which in theory should be a really good solution to that problem, the reason why not everyone is using public transport are quite simple. Public transport is overcrowded, not only as, or this problem has become much more obvious since the pandemic, but even before. In a lot of cases, when public transport is already faster and cheaper than your own car, people are still using their own car, and that's totally fine. And the reason is because people like comfort and they like privacy. In many cases, the car is really just a rolling part of your flat or your house, and we don't believe that people should change in order to solve the problems, but we need to find solutions that accept that people want to, say, travel privately. And so we are designing this mobility service based on autonomous vehicles. And what you really should see when you use it is just that. And I like to start with this picture because we have this completely user-centric approach where we try to, with every design step we take, we try to think about what actually creates value. And it sounds obvious, but in the car industry, my impression is that in many cases it's more technology-driven than user-driven, that there is a new cool technology and everyone wants to use it, and then we'll just have to find a problem for that solution. And so we are trying to really approach this problem with a user-centric strategy, and so the customer sees that, but in the end, what we need to create in order to make this work is what we call a mobility ecosystem that consists not only of the vehicle, but we're also developing a fleet management system that we call Coro, an infrastructure interface that we call Spinon, a user interface, so mostly the app, but there's also screens in the vehicle that we call Oculo, and finally, the most central part of the whole system is, of course, a purpose-built autonomous vehicle. And I would like to explain a bit more why we believe that it's so important to really go for those purpose-built vehicles. When you think of autonomous vehicles, many people think of those, it's retrofitted passenger cars with these ugly sensor suites on top. And we don't believe that this will, in the end, be the right solution, because passenger cars are great. They are optimized for a long time for a very specific purpose, but that purpose is not providing mobility services. That purpose is being owned by one person and fulfilling all this person's mobility needs. So we think it's very, very important that you, from scratch, design a purpose-built vehicle that is really optimized for autonomous services. And there, it's very important, for example, there's very obvious differences. So normally in the car industry, we have something that we call the parking lot. So there's different segments, there's different types of vehicle, and when you build a new vehicle, you position yourself on that parking lot. and you know all the competitors, you can benchmark against them, and then you can you always know what customers will expect, and so you have really good input data into that development process. Whereas what we are trying to do is something completely outside that parking lot. There's no experience in how autonomous vehicles should look like and what they should be optimized for, and so we need to do that. And there's very obvious differences, like, for example, you need probably less range, or the vehicle needs to be focused on passenger experience and not on riding experience. But there's also other very important architectural decisions, like the ADAS system, for example. Autonomous vehicles will operate for a long time, mostly in cities, we believe, because this AD level 5 that everyone talks about, where an autonomous vehicle is allowed to drive autonomously everywhere, is still quite far away. But the so-called AD level 4, where you are allowed to drive, the autonomous vehicle can take responsibility for driving, but in a defined area, is quite close. The first areas we're already seeing in different cities. And those, if you go for this AD level 4 in a defined area, you want as many customers as possible in that area. And so cities are a really good place. And so ADAS systems, for example, in many cars today, they're mostly designed for high-speed highway operation and so on. But if we see our vehicles as mostly operating in very complex inner city environments, a system like the voxel flow system is super interesting for us, because it really takes into account the complexity of the area we are operating in. So we've signed this partnership with Terranet in order to explore what the possibilities of this combination, where our autonomous vehicles have a backup ADAS system that is really optimized for the purpose we are operating in. If you are working in this autonomous vehicle space, you get very used and very annoyed by always just seeing 3D models and animations, and nothing is for real. So we really wanted to build a rolling prototype very early, and so we built this Sango RC1. And I'll just show a couple of pictures of that to give you an impression why we think it's so important that a vehicle is purpose-built for autonomous services. So our vehicle has 4 to 6 seats. What you see here now is what we call privacy mode, because we've made the observation that people like to when the traffic is the biggest problem on streets, is mostly in connection to people traveling to and from work, and at this time it's also mostly people traveling on their own. So it would actually be enough for everyone to have one seat in a vehicle, but still everyone drives in their own car. And so we wanted to create a setting in the vehicle where we make it more likely that people are willing to share, and we have those dividing walls between the seats, so that everyone can travel privately and can use the time as good as possible for working on their screen, for example, or for entertainment purposes. But we've also, of course, thought of the other mobility needs of a person. So normally, even if you use your car to drive to work and you only need one seat, and we could replace that, most people, if that was all you had as mobility need, most people would own motorcycles and not cars, and so we think that the service needs to also provide the other mobility needs, and many people have larger cars with 5 seats because they either have to transport their family, or every now and then they want to drive with friends. And so the interior of the Sango RC1 or of the Sango vehicle is flexible, that it can, by moving the seats and by moving these privacy walls automatically, it can switch between different modes. And so this is the mode that we call family mode. where up to 6 people can travel together, and we've of course also thought of the teenagers on the back seat. So in my world, this would be the parents talking to their younger kids in the front, and the angry teenagers can sit in the back and use the Holoride system to be entertained and not argue with their parents. And then, of course, in a job environment, or if you go out in an evening, you can also use what we call social mode. So the seats are pushed even further apart, and you can just use 4 seats, but in this face-to-face environment. And then, as I already mentioned a bit earlier, Nils already mentioned we've signed this 3-way agreement with Terranet and Holoride, and it was actually an interesting story when we talked the first time. For me, it was really hard to get my head around, because it's really 2 very important things that we discuss a lot internally, but on the very ends of the spectrum, really, because for us, the voxel flow system is a super interesting ADAS system to increase safety in our vehicles. But on the other hand, we've been discussing a lot the issue of, okay, but people, if they don't drive to work, they will quite quickly start wanting to do something else with their time. And this is really something that how we as a provider of services in an autonomous vehicle will be able to distinguish ourselves from others is by providing better services while we're doing that. And those 2 things are really far apart, but it makes it so interesting for us, because it really I can show the possibilities of what autonomous vehicles will change in just one partnership. So we are really excited about this, and hope there will be a lot of interesting things happening. Thank you very much.
Hey, stay.
No, I wasn't going anywhere.
Good. Okay, so my first question is, so how do I not get car sick in this, since I can't see the road anywhere? Can I? Can I see the road straight ahead sitting in this, or can I only see out sideways?
In this one, it's the RC1. We had actually a lot of discussions with our creative design department. So I agree, you see the road through the front windows, but you don't see enough. So we've already working on the RC2 design, and it will have a lot larger windows. And it was a long fight for me. I'm not from the car industry in the beginning, to get the creative design department of a car company to, when I asked them, what does the new design look like? I wanted them to show me the interior and not the exterior. And that was really tough for them, but I insisted, and now they really do it.
And I guess this is part of what you meant with people get super excited about techie stuff, but it's for the user.
Exactly. And they wanted it to be like this because they wanted it to look cool from the outside. And then, of course, you can have different opinions about that. But it's really important to think about it from the inside, and how does the user experience it.
For sure. I'm thinking about, a lot of people, who here owns a car? Okay, do you like your car? Nah, yeah, some of you like your cars, right? Okay, so in a lot of countries, owning a car is also showing wealth, pride, right? It's almost more important than your house. You created your entire business model around people wanting to just give up their own car and the privacy of their own car. Is that the smartest move?
I hope so, yes. And I think there's a lot of studies of people getting asked, like, do you like to drive your car? And then if someone asks me that question, I think of driving around along the west coast of the US with a car with no roof and the wind in my hair and so on. Of course I like driving cars. But if you frame the question a bit differently, like, do you like this Tuesday morning you try to get to a meeting, but there's no parking spots anywhere, and you drive through traffic, bad weather. Do you really like driving cars?
This is true. Let's ask. Who likes this? No one.
No
okay,
one.
Cool. So we all agree. Yes.
Deal done.
Perfect. Okay, so there has been a lot of negative publicity around your parent company, Evergrande. Does their financial situation somehow impact you guys?
funnily enough, at the moment, more positively than negatively. So
How?
they stopped paying for us. We used to be there, or we are still their development department, but they can't afford to pay us. But we've found other sources of money that keep us afloat for about a year. And they, more importantly, when they can't pay, they also they don't give us instructions, and they give us the opportunity to create our own future. And so at the moment we're looking for new investors. Evergrande is totally fine with that, and we see a lot of opportunities. And of course, there are some risks, but the opportunities definitely outweigh the risks.
Great. So if all goes well, you get your financing and all the right people that you need and developers that you need. When will I sit in one of those going to work?
Our plan is to have in Stockholm, maybe Oslo, and maybe another Scandinavian city pilots by the end of 2023.
This is soon.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It will still be prototypes.
Yes.
Let's wait with the clapping until it's done. No, and it will still be prototype vehicles, but what we really focus on is that they feel like proper production vehicles and they behave like proper production vehicles. Of course, they will be more expensive to build because it's small batches and so on. But and we aim for serial production in 2025.
And with a bigger window.
And with a bigger window.
Yay. Okay, thank you so much, Felix.
Thank you.
All right, to our next speaker. Michaela Berglund is the brain behind Terranet's communication. She's a driven marketing and communication specialist working across multiple industries and companies across Europe. With experience from both listed and unlisted companies. She's a passionate strategist with focus on entrepreneurships and investments. Michaela, the stage is yours.
Or, yes. Now I'm just going to try to get this onto my skirt. It's great that this day is fine. Can you actually help me? Oh, maybe I get it. I get it. Okay, good. It's great that this day is finally here. We've been working really hard from many aspects of getting a day together like this. We've actually arranged it a lot on our own, which is the first Capital Markets Day for Terranet. And it kind of fits into the topic that I'm going to talk about today as well. It's that things are changing. You've heard it in the presentation from Felix, 2023, big windows, going to work in this incredible pod. You've heard it from Nils and what you can do on the way to your work. But there are so many other things happening in the mobility space. My biggest question mark is actually how are cars still looking the same as they did for like 100 years ago? It's incredible. So much else has happened. So the question is, with this change, how shall we change together with this transformation? Even referred to as the metaverse. I have identified a few pain points from a safety perspective, because I don't know if you knew this, but the UN, they have come together and agreed that in 2030, 50% of all accidents on the road are going to be halved. So we got a few years to go, but who is sorting that out? From my perspective, we're taking more diverse electrical vehicles to where we want to go. It's more vehicles, different sizes. Actually, we see an increase in buying of SUVs because they feel safe. And if your neighbor has a safe, cool car that's an SUV, you don't want to come in your Ford Fiesta. No offense, Ford, because it doesn't feel as safe. So from a safety perspective, the regulatory changes are more, some of those that are presented on the screen is the clean air, the CO emission-free areas. It's dedicated areas for vulnerable road users. It's dedicated areas for motorcyclists, for cyclists, etc. We also see how you decrease the speed to ensure that more lives are saved, as that is equivalent to, getting more hurt, of course. And also ensuring that the cities and our societies are really struggling and trying to put effort into how are we going to make public transportation accessible, safe, but also utilized. It's a big issue. So how are we going to achieve this number? 50% of the accidents across the globe should be completely gone on the roads in a few years. At the same time, this is in trillion, showing what's going to happen with the car industry. So we got the accidents needs to go down, but what's happening with the automotive industry? It's going up tremendously. Everyone wants to have a car, even though it's parked 95% of the time. If we move away from the regulatory perspective and what has happened from a safety perspective, and we look at what has happened from the car manufacturers, from the OEMs and the suppliers, this is just a few of the safety features that you probably recognize, and some of them are Swedish. Nils from Volvo there in the beginning, and with the seat belt, and so much has happened, but it needs more. And I've actually put VoxaFlow there at the left or right corner, depending on where you are. And why am I putting it as an innovative move towards a safer society? Because you need a change in the fundamentals of the technology to improve the data you get. And you not only improve the data, you need to get it faster. You need to process it faster, and that's why VoxaFlow is so innovative. Some of you might have seen this video on our YouTube channel. I highly encourage you to go and see it if you haven't, because it shows quite a clear use case where all the other technologies that you see, quite a few speak about LiDAR, for example, and see that as a safety net for the automotive industry. But if you look at, it's a great technology, but if you combine all of the other technologies, they still can't solve this specific kid running out 10 meters ahead of the car and not hit the kid. But we can actually do that. And I think it's a unique position for what's ahead. But there are also other changes. How many people here have been taking electrical scooter sometime? It doesn't matter like what age. In the beginning when they arrived, people were like, oh, so silly. Like, I'm never going to take that. But now you see people rushing to their appointment on an electrical scooter with the wind in the hair, and sometimes really difficult or dangerous situations. So it's super innovative. People love it. They get to where they want to go. It's flexible. They don't have to look for a parking spot. There's so much opportunity. But at the same time, it's dangerous. And I see that because accidents has been going up. And it will continue to go up with those markets. So what is done to meet the safety net for this micromobility field? I don't know about you, but when I jump on an electrical scooter, I pay by the time. The longer I use it, the more expensive it gets. It is actually something that for the person that doesn't want to pay so much for this scooter ride, stresses them to go faster and is a danger. So that's the time over there. Obviously, you've seen limitations in specific areas. You've seen how you utilize data, even from the GPS and the navigation of where the scooters are going and where the accidents are happening. But this is actually not enough. I don't know if you know Albert Einstein. I'm sure you do. But he said a lot of brilliant things, I think. And one of the things he said is, Insanity is trying to do the same thing all over again and expecting a different result. And by that, I would like to say that it's time for lunch for you. And from the Terranet side, we think differently. And we will share more about how we think differently after lunch when you'll deep dive into our technology and the developments. So have a good lunch, everyone that's here. And I hope to see you soon, even digitally, after the lunch. So we start at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, lunch everyone, outside.
As 70% of all bicycle accidents happen in urban areas, we believe that we can ensure transportation gets a lot safer no matter what vehicle you're driving.
That's why we bring voxel flow technology also to bicycles.
Link Bike will prevent accidents.
Test 2, 3.
Welcome back, everyone. How was lunch? Amazing, I heard. Well then, y'all had some coffee? Yes, you're ready for the next session then. Perfect. Okay, so Nihat Küçük is the CTO of Terranet. In 1990, he graduated from the Cooperative State University in Stuttgart with a master's degree in technical computer science. He is a true entrepreneur and a professional in mobility, maps, navigation, and geospatial technologies, both in the mobile internet and automotive space. He has more than 3 decades of professional experience, 10 years in doing research and development on maps and mobility at Daimler, another 13 years experience in running 2 startup companies, 3 years with Movil, and 6 years leading an innovation lab for ADAS, maps and traffic at Mercedes-Benz. Welcome up on stage, Nihat, and applause.
So thank you. My name is Nihat. Thanks a lot for being here and giving you an introduction about Terranet's newest technologies. I'll start with a presentation. You know, it's like 10, 15 slides. I'm going to run through those pretty quickly. It will be not that much technical details, but we will have enough time later to answer questions. Okay, what is superhuman 3D sensing? Today, when we talk about computer vision, it's more or less cameras as we know them, RGB cameras. With voxel flow, we have actually entered a new age of computer vision, which is like much faster, more accurate, and also low latency compared to any other technologies that we have today in ADAS. After the first few slides, I'm going to present you a new product that we're going to develop and launch in the next 6 months from now. So, over the past month, Terranet has been focusing on R&D, developing the voxel flow technology. This is my slide. This is my slide. So every minute, one person dies in a road accident. Every minute. And it's strange that we as a society still accept that. One person every minute. Around 20 people per 1 million die on urban roads. And almost 40% of them are more or less, you know, happening in cities, in urban areas. And 70% of those are either pedestrians, cyclists, scooters, and all other non-motorized vehicles. So our mission, therefore, is we want to stop this. So our groundbreaking technology, voxel flow, will make our roads safer. Makes sense. We are going to save more lives of vulnerable road users. And what distinguishes voxel flow from the competition is the latency. We have ultra-fast technology for detecting motion. That's an interesting picture. Do you recognize what it is? Yeah, exactly. So when the camera looks at this picture, it is very hard to recognize what it is because it doesn't have any shape, right? Frame-based cameras only see contrast, not the shape, and no motion at all, only 2D. So that's the fundamental problem of 2D cameras. In order to see shape, you have to analyze a 2D picture. You have to go through these pictures frame by frame and try to recognize what it is. Our voxel flow technology is different. You will see that in a minute. What about this picture? Cameras take pictures let's say every 30, 40 milliseconds. And in between, they're blind. They don't see anything. And this is why when you have movement, when you have motion, you always have a blur. And you need a lot of light in order to see something, because you need contrast in order to detect objects. So what is different with VoxelFlow? With VoxelFlow, we see both shape and motion. It's ultra fast. It's actually as fast as it can get. It's bio-inspired because we're using sensors that are bio-inspired, which means work similar as the human eye. We see both the shape and the precise motion of an object, which means we know where it goes, to the left, to the right, on the road, off the road. And this is a picture where Dirk later will talk more about it. This is the latest from the lab in Los Gatos. As you can see, we can even see the fingers of Skylar Cullen here in this picture. You see an increased number of scan lines here, and Dirk will later even show a movie, Skylar's daughter dancing in front of the VoxelFlow sensor. Okay, continuous improvement. Now, at Terranet, we've been doing a lot of research type of development, a lot of concept, lots of technology, and we've been bothering you guys with milliseconds, voxel, megavoxels per second, etc. Our company now needs to move from technology to product, which means a product that is powered by VoxelFlow, the cutting edge technology for vision. And we're going to introduce now the name for a product family in Terranet that is called Blink. So Blink Vision is the product that is going into automotive powered by VoxelFlow. In order to give you an idea how it looks like, this is going to be the targeted size of our Blink Vision sensor. So we'll have a sensor that has event cameras in it. So in this box, we'll have an event camera. We will have a multi-beam laser inside here. We will have a beam splitter as well, so that we have not only 3, 6, 12 beams. We will have some microelectronics in here for controlling the beams, and of course, some processing unit. Then, of course, you'll have 2 because you need stereo. So that is the minimum number of sensors we want to have. Of course, 3, 4 is even better, but that's, of course, a cost issue. The embedded controlling unit will be something like this. This is about the size it's going to be. So this will be under the trunk, in the interior of the car, inside the body. So this is not something that scales. You just have one of these, but multiple of the Blink Vision. This we call Blink Compute. This is the very rough roadmap ahead. So as you can see, we want to increase the number of beams very quickly so that we have up to 30, 40 beams by fall next year. We are going to extend the range. You need at least 15 to 80 meters in urban areas when you want to brake, not to run over a child. But we are going to increase to 30 meters by end of next year. Also, the number of voxels. Voxels are 3D picture elements. We'll increase them by the factor of more than 50 by end of next year. And by having 2 sensors looking to the front and 2 sensors looking to the back, we can have more or less, a full surrounding view of the vehicle's path ahead. I will explain you very quickly what it means to be fast. So imagine you have a car running at 70 kilometers an hour, and you have to brake for a pedestrian, probably 30 meters in front of the car. The voxel flow system, blink vision, will require about 5 milliseconds to recognize that vulnerable road user. In that time, the car will move 10 centimeters. I think that's not a lot. And then, in today's ADAS environment, an emergency braking system will require about 2 meters, which is about 80 milliseconds. So we will have 80 milliseconds to decide what to do. What I mean is, as soon as we see the object, we are going to prepare the brakes. It requires 80 milliseconds before the brake pads actually reach the brake disc and start to decelerate the car. So within these 80 milliseconds, we're going to do object detection, classification, which means, is it a flying plastic bag or is it a kid? And then we're going to track the object because we want to know whether it runs off the road or on the road, because otherwise you don't have to brake. And then the last 20 milliseconds, we also want to try to know the intention, which means what is that object about to do, right? Depending on, the position of your feet. Something wrong with the microphone? Okay, now it works again. Then actually there's something we can't accelerate, which is the braking itself. And that will take, when you run at 70 kilometers an hour, it's like 27 meters. So what is the difference to today's technologies? 29 meters instead of 35 meters. So we save 6 meters. And these 6 meters can save lives. If you compare it to a scenario today, well, other systems currently need 300 milliseconds to react, which means 6 meters more than we can achieve with voxel flow. And since current ADAS or LiDAR systems require these 300 milliseconds, they can't become faster because it's physics, it's all the computing time that you need. These 6 meters can really save lives, especially when you drive faster than 70 kilometers an hour. But even if you drive 50 kilometers an hour, this can be a life-saving advantage. How would a voxel flow system look like? So we're placing the blink compute unit somewhere in the back. It is connected to the car's network. We have wires that lead to the blink vision modules, 2 of them. We have like a field of view between 35 and 40 degrees, which is enough to see, a vulnerable road user ahead on the right side and also in the center of the road. But we can also have 3 of them. That depends actually on the investment an OEM wants to do. 3 makes the system faster, more resolution, but it's not required. So 2 of these modules would be enough to make a car safer. And of course, since we can have as many of these as we want, this is also a perfect solution for public transportation or shared vehicles. I mean, Felix talked about that. Having these sensors mounted on the car on a pod like this can first make it safer, but also increase the operation speed, because you don't have to stop for everything that you see that moves in front of your vehicle, so you can only decelerate when you see there's a kid, or there's a dog, or there's a stroller, whatever. And if you ask, oh, how do you put these on the car? I don't want to have an ugly car. Then this is not, of course, something we're going to do. There are many OEMs and tier ones that already have designs where you can put these additional sensors on the car. There are solutions for rooftop designs, as you can see, but there are also people working on integration into headlamps. So we'll just adapt to that. We have some requirements in terms of installation space and also heat budget and temperature, and also what the cabling requires. But we're, let's say, on the same base like LiDAR or any other vision technology. So we will see that eventually in headlamps or rooftop devices that people already have presented in showrooms and exhibitions. That's it. Thanks a lot for your time.
Hello? There we go. Okay, so I have a question. Can you go back to the previous slide? What happens if it's snowing? Will it still work if it's integrated behind the windshield there?
That's a good question. I mean, it's the same requirement for all other sensors in the car as well, even for your headlamps. So there are very interesting concepts where, for example, rotating mechanisms clean the lenses automatically. So we'll leave it up to the OEMs and tier ones to deal with that. It's not our, let's say, responsibility, but we know there's like active heating, there's really like wipers that you have in front of these sensors. So that's something that is already available. It's just a question of integration.
Right. So is it a possibility that people get too reliant on this type of technique and don't really care about driving and checks Facebook instead?
One interesting aspect of voxel flow or blink vision is that we don't target autonomous driving vehicles at all. We think that this technology can be placed in any car today. So we are also targeting manual driven cars. It's not for automated vehicles only. And we even think that this technology is even better suited for human drivers than for machines driving.
So that's what I mean. So what if the human then say, well, I have all these sensors, I don't have to look on the road? Is that a risk?
I think with all the new evolving technologies, people, of course, still have to pay attention to what happens. I mean, we have ABS, we have safety belts, we have lane keep assistance system, etc. And of course, people tend probably to feel safer, but actually we want to have that. People should feel safer when they drive.
Good. Okay, thank you so much, Nihat. We'll see you in a bit on stage again. Okay, it is time for our next speaker. And this is all the exciting news that we're going to hear today. This is what we've been waiting for. So Senja Stefanovic is working with business development at Terranet, but she's also the product manager for the new upcoming safety product, which she will announce here today in a few minutes. Senja has been working in and with different startups and scale-up companies for the past 10 years, from food tech, mobility services to fintech. She holds a master's degree in digital management and currently lives in Berlin. Prior to that, she's lived in 7 different countries, where she spent most of her time in Stockholm. So, welcome back to Stockholm and to the stage, Senja!
Do you hear me? Great. So let's see if we're gonna have a video. Back up. So where's my slides? I just skipped those. Okay. So yeah. Hi everyone. And I guess it's going to be a video we can start with before I introduce myself.
As 70% of all bicycle accidents happen in urban areas, we believe that we can ensure transportation gets a lot safer no matter what vehicle you're driving.
That's why we're bringing voxel flow technology also to bicycles.
Blink Bike will prevent accidents to happen with advanced technology solutions like artificial intelligence, deep learning algorithms, and neural networks.
When we are cycling, we cannot have correct view of the rear. We had to turn our head. In that kind of situations, the artificial intelligence will take over, like detect the object, how much speed it's coming to you, and it can warn a biker saying that the vehicle is coming really fast to you, so you have to be careful. Then the biker will have a chance to be careful and escape from the accidents.
So we will watch your back, so you can always have your eyes on the road. Hey, so, okay. Before entering the scene. Okay, so very happy to be here, and thanks for joining us today. And for those of you that haven't met me yet, my name is Tanya, and I'm working with business development at Terranet since June this year. And there are many reasons why I joined Terranet, and it is because I have this amazing opportunity to work together with this amazing team to actually accomplish the goal of saving lives on the roads. Therefore, today, I am going to introduce you to our new safety product called Blink Bike, which will prevent accidents to happen and protect the cyclists in urban and city environments. We got actually inspired and confident to move forward with this development because we attended the Eurobike event this year and in Friedrichshafen in Germany. We saw that the demand was very high for safety products, and we also realized that there were not many products out there that really protected the cyclists from accidents. So with Blink Bike, the cyclists will feel more safe and secure while riding their bikes, because we're going to watch their back and alert them in high-risk situations, so the cyclists can make smarter and safer decisions in time to avoid any type of collision. So, looking at this data, cyclists are twice as likely to die in a bicycle accident than in a car. And why urban area is because 70% of all the bicycle deaths are happening in that area. And rear-end collision is the most common type of accident, where the vehicle is hitting the cyclist from behind. Actually, 45% of all the fatalities are caused by this collision. And that is why our product will mainly focus on preventing this type of scenario. So we believe that cyclists should not only rely and trust the actions made from other road users approaching from behind. We want to create a product that can provide cyclists with maximum safety and a peace of mind when they are commuting by their bike. And let me present to you how we're going to solve this problem. So here is a rough draft of our first product we're going to launch. It will consist of two components, a rear light camera that will be placed underneath the bike seat, and a smart mirror display placed on your handlebar. Both components will be easily attachable and detachable, so you don't have to worry about that. So with these devices, we will be able to capture your surroundings from behind, but also to show the rear traffic on your front mirror display. And for additional safety, we will be able to alert you through optional vibrating bike grips or a wristband, so you can keep your eyes on the road and as much as possible. So, also, sorry, just to introduce you the smartphone app. It's going to be mainly for the configuration and software updates, actually. So we're not just going to launch an additional app that you're going to have on your phone. So from there, you can actually download your video recordings, but also for either social sharing or in case of an accident, you can use this footage as evidence. So, since many drivers claim they don't see the cyclist, Blink Bike will also make it visible, thanks to our smart rear light. Not only will you become more visible to other road users, the behind traffic will also be aware of your next actions you're going to take. For instance, if you are braking, stopping, or moving. So, as you can see, the product has many valuable features that will protect you as a cyclist on the road. However, what I haven't mentioned to you yet is why our product is that unique on the market. So, by using advanced technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep neural networks, we will be able to detect, track, and classify other vehicles behind you. And what does that mean? So, as a cyclist, you will be aware of what type of vehicle that is approaching you from behind. Is it a car, a tram, a bus, for instance? You will also be aware of the distance between you and the approaching vehicle. How far away are you from each other? You will also know the velocity, the speed of the object. So in this use case scenario, the car is approaching 40 kilometers an hour, and it's 3 meters behind you. And here's just additional picture showcasing you how our product will look like in a real-time scenario as well. And these indicators that you see on the screen will be also shown to you easily on the screen. So here's just another type of example, like when a car is overtaking, there can be a dangerous situation that we will be avoiding with our product. Churning is another example where you can actually have a collision that we're going to prevent with our product. And the market opportunity for e-bikes is obviously a very huge market and a very good market for us to enter. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, it has still been a strong growth in that area. And it's actually projected to reach to approximately 80 billion by 2026. So the biggest e-bike market is Asia Pacific, which contributed to 88% to the global electric market in 2020 due to high sales. So it's both Japan, South Korea, China, and Taiwan, which is the biggest e-bike market. But also in Europe, we see an increase in higher demands for e-bikes rather than conventional bicycles. And especially like countries like Germany, Netherlands, France, and Italy. So also what we can see, with more bikes on the roads, the more safety it will demand. And therefore, Blink Bike will be an essential product for cyclists and the traffic at large. So now also my colleague will introduce you our mock-up that we have for this product. You can take that.
No, but you need a to the stream. Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ritu, and I'm working as an application engineer in Terranet from May 2021. I'm proud to present here a mock-up of our product. So this is how the Blink Bike will look like. Essentially, it will be a 2-unit design. So the first unit will be placed on the handlebar, and it will be the display unit, essentially around 5 inches display. Oops. Okay, there you go. Have a good look at it. And I forgot to say thanks to Jonas, our 3D printing master, who did all this magic for us. So this second unit is essentially the main compute unit. So this is the main housing which we have. And then here you have a sliding drawer like this. So this drawer essentially consists of the smart lights, which will be placed here. And also the camera unit will be located here as well. And inside is the main ECU for Blink Bike. And it will be also placed inside this drawer. And yeah, so this is the how the product will look like, and welcome to the future of Blink Bike. Yay. Thank you so much.
Okay, it is time for our next speaker. You see, usually I learned this by heart, but all of these guys have done so many things. They have such impressive resumes that I need my notes. Dirk Smith is a Silicon Valley veteran who has founded and advised multiple advanced technology startups. He has developed a range of novel user interfaces, telepresence, and mobile applications, including 3D motion capture, display, and immersion. Mr. Smits has built successful strategic relationships with European, Asian Pacific, and North American customers. He holds an Honors Bachelor of Sciences degree in experimental physics from the University of British Columbia and an MBA from the University of Chicago. He is a longtime member of the Optical Society of America, of SPI, the International Society for Optics and Photonics, and of the Society for Information Displays. Dirk, welcome up on stage.
Okay, I'm an engineer. I don't know how to push the button. Sorry. I'm not an engineer. Welcome. I'm super happy to be in Stockholm. We'll show a little video first, and then I'll explain a little more about that. But I am from Silicon Valley. I grew up in Europe. I got so many things to say, I decided to be very careful and do a video that cut. Oh, the clicker to find my video. 2 buttons. Ooh, well beyond my. Oh. There you are. Wow. One more. All right. Credit to my son, by the way. He's the technician on this one. Today I'm going to talk about how machines can see the world better. It's a story about pictures, processors, and perception. Now let's begin our story. Ada Lovelace, yes, a woman, actually started the computer revolution 180 years ago. She was a math genius. She was the daughter of Lord Byron. She ended up having a very angry mother who decided to make poor Ada only study math and physics and nothing whatsoever in poetry or any of the things that her previous husband was really good at. So the very brilliant polymath daughter, Ada, ended up working with a man called Charles Babbage. Babbage was in a time where everything was being mechanized and automated in terms of weaving and agricultural devices in England. So Babbage figured out a sort of a contraption that could add, multiply, divide faster than any human could. And Babbage built only a part of this machine in his time, but eventually, based on his writings, we built the exact machine he designed during his 35 years of labors. It's now in a computer history museum in Mountain View. 100 years later, some of this work actually started becoming super important. Alan Turing used it in sort of a similar contraption to try to crack the secret codes from the Germans called Enigma. And he succeeded in 1943. And then in the next 75 years or so, enormous progress was made. But the next super improvement was, of course, ENIAC, or the electronic numerical integrator and computer. This was the same idea, but now the switches were electronic vacuum tubes. So it required days of rewiring, just like operators in a telephone central. So of course, women were chosen to be the first programmers. 18,000 vacuum tubes, 5,000 operations per second, which is actually pretty good. 5 kilohertz operation. But then, here comes the big invention. Bell Labs, 1947. These 3 guys figured out, accidentally actually, more or less, a way to build a vacuum tube without all the trouble of vacuum tubes, the transistor. And a transistor allowed this massive compute floor to be reduced to merely 1 room, as one of the inventors claimed proudly in the 50s. They, and we're here today, got the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1956, December 10th. And it's amazing, they were here in Stockholm, they got the Nobel Prize, and they truly, truly deserved it, because what happened next was incredible progress. What happened next was integrated circuits. Robert Noyce, the founder of Intel, one of the 3. This is the beginning of Silicon Valley mass manufacturing of silicon wafers. And the first big improvement, of course, was the integrated processor, integrated circuit that could compute something. The Intel 4004 was invented and actually delivered in 1971. That was actually built for a little calculator company in Japan. Intel quickly realized this was a really good idea. They should not just build calculators, and bought all the patents back, and the rest is history, as they say. 1971. Today, we have the M1, 57 billion transistors, 10 cores, 10 processors, fully featured, and its total performance is about 10 teraflops, which is 10,000 billion operations per second. So what's important to understand is silicon, the integrated chip revolution, Moore's law, and all the things that followed since 1948 basically enabled the computational idea of Babbage to get fast, but it never actually changed. Now, why 125 years later, oh my God, how come Tesla crashes into a police car? If you don't believe this, throw a ball in front of a Tesla and see how much time it takes for the Tesla to respond to that ball. Tesla takes 450 milliseconds to even start turning the wheel or applying a brake if something occurs in front of that Tesla that wasn't there before. 400 milliseconds. The reason it's not faster on a gigahertz processor array is not because we're not fast enough with the array, but because we're giving it the wrong input. So people who believe that, oh, we'll just wait for the next super chip from Apple to do this, are a little bit ill-informed about what is actually happening inside the brain of a computer. So why is this? That's because those poor processing-based brains only have been fed pictures of the world. They have no idea about anything that's actually important. There's no shapes. You can't see any objects or people or small children. No depth. You have no idea where they are in distance. And there's no motion. You have no idea which way they're moving. So you have this idea that we are creating sort of brains, but they're not brains. They're actually computation machines. A computer is, and fundamentally always was for 180 years, a serial system. Pictures fundamentally are, still images are, not a serial system, a massive parallel system. And you know this because when Apple sells you a new phone, they tell you proudly how many megapixels your camera can record. Well, that's the parallel part. The megapixels is how much parallelism is in each picture. And the more the better for the eye. Pictures are exactly what the human eye wants to see. So millions of years of evolution endowed us with this multidimensionally connected neuron net in our brain called the visual cortex. This system is massively parallel. Computing systems we know how to build. Not parallel, but incredibly fast. And we can only build computers. We have not yet invented a human brain on a wafer. So there's no actual motion in motion pictures. From the first motion picture invention, which was at Le Ciotat, the little train arrived by the brothers Lumière. The audience saw that movie and really thought it was a real train. They dove under their chairs. Because the brain interprets the series of pictures, in this case 16 still images per second, as a real motion. There's no real motion. It's just 16 still images. In fact, Waymo, with many cameras of the most modern type, is actually running at twice that speed, 30 frames a second. Why so slow? This poor animal here just ate a giant thing. We don't know what it is, but it obviously is humongous and it needs to be digested. And if that were a picture, that would explain why Waymo is not actually faster. So when you feed pictures into a sequential processing machine, you have to do so much work to recover the shapes, the motion, the depth, and all those things that you just threw away. If you give them in images, you're doing something that is unnatural. You're giving them something that they have to buffer, they have to chop down into tiny little bits, like a person has no teeth trying to eat a steak. It's impossible. And this is what it looks like if you're a modern computer vision person. You work on all this stuff, and after 100 teraflops or so, you still have a 400 millisecond delay. So milliseconds really do matter. Human drivers, even a decent driver, has no better than 400 millisecond response. Autopilot? Actually not better. They have no clue what they're doing, and the 400 millisecond response is the limit. So in most urban traffic situations where things occur within 10 meters that you want to respond to by steering or braking. Today's systems based on imaging systems that have been perfected for 50 years and processors that have been perfected for the same 50 years, and brilliant computer scientists writing more and more AI papers on vision, they simply can't do it. We can. So how did we do this? We have scanning lasers, tiny little things that have been around for like 20 years. Scanning lasers add order in a world of chaos. Not because it's so much more information, actually it's so much less. We don't bulk the processor up with undigestible stuff. We give it pure superfood for processors. And this is what you will understand is so revolutionary about voxel flow. Giving that sequential super machine a sequential input created by lasers scanning the surface at really high speeds, any speed you'd like, they can keep up. We got plenty of compute power on every chip in the world. So voxel flow is the first system in the world that actually purely sequentially perceives everything. I just wanted to say one thing. I was coming to Sweden and the Omicron virus came out, and I said, what if I get blocked at the airport? So I decided to record my talk. I'm still working on it yesterday, but my son helped doing this. But what you should know, and people know me well, if I hadn't done this, we cut 122 minutes down to 8. So, thank my son. This man has all my respect.
Okay, so I want you to be over here. Marks can see you. Hey, welcome. Come up here. There's a beautiful mark that you can use. Come. Yes. So they can see you back home or at the office or whatever you guys are. Nihat, ask your question.
Yes. As you know, Dirk is our genius inventor for the voxel flow technology. So Dirk, a few questions to you. I would like to know from you what is going to expect us over the next 6-9 months regarding voxel flow. Tell me more about, what about the range, a little bit about eye safety, also the response times, number of voxels per second. I think you're great in repeating these numbers. So what can we expect on improvements of the voxel flow technology in the next 6 months, 9 months?
All right, good question. So the good news is we had a little bit of luck. I have a group, it's a really small group in California working on it, but we basically upload our latest technical software practically every day if we want to his team in Stuttgart and in Lund, of course. It's all zip, in 10 minutes later it's in both cities. So we've gotten a new system which has 6 beams, and that was the Monday. That was my co-founder's daughter dancing. We took her for 2 hours out of school, and then mom dragged her back, and we managed to take the whole thing. So 6 beams, same hardware, 6 times more performance. My software team has been challenged to go to 30 beams. I don't know if that's possible. It's like juggling 30 balls instead of 6 or 1. So you have to keep all those balls in the air and track all of them with all your cameras and not get confused. But I have one guy called Nikolai, who comes from Denmark. He went via Caltech and then Hawaii, where he found a wife. And then he moved to Jeff Bezos' space project, and then it turned out the wife didn't like the darkness of Seattle. And the long answer is, Nikolai figured out how to do it with 6. I tell him now it's 30 balls in the air, and he had a grin on his face when I left. So that's what I expect within like 3 months, but maybe it's 6. And secondly, I really think getting one of the automotive guys excited about this. Won't be that hard because 6 beams is amazing and 30 beams is 6 months away. So, yeah.
Great, wonderful. I mean, I trust you a lot, Dirk, but I'll be in your lab in 10 days from now and check whether everything is true what you said.
Oh, one thing, and I don't know if it's totally. I'm a physicist. I love doing this stuff. I always tell people, look, if you think it's bullshit, just come and check. And if you can find a reason the math and the physics is incorrect, I'll eat the microphone, okay? So I had a marketing career, but physics is my passion. You can say a lot of things, but actually building it and then showing it to people that don't believe it is my greatest fun. A lot of automotive people don't believe it, and you have to actually show them. Second.
just not working. Oh, there you go. Now it's working. Yes. So then we know he promised to eat his mic, right? We all heard it. Yes?
It's a big one.
It's a big one. Okay, thank you so much, Dirk. Thank you so much
Thanks, Dirk.
for coming back up on stage.
All right.
We're going to move on to the next one today. Thank you. Or do I? Right. Yes. I'm going to take this off. Har du mutat den? All right. Now you can hear me back home too. We're not ignoring you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next super fun thing. But first, I want to say thank you to all the speakers. Thank you so much, Dirk, for your video. Thank you all for coming here today. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for watching back home, for the office, maybe from bed, who knows. We're going to move on to drink some bubbly outside, right? And it's already served? Yes, so let's bring on the music and let's go mini party because it's a Monday. All right, thank you for letting me host today.